Ladies and gentlemen,
It's time for the Early Bird Special, bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube and on Twitch. I keep forgetting to mention that. We do have a Twitch as well, if that's your preferred preference. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for, because there's a lot.
Oh, we'll be talking a lot, yes. We'll be talking about the NFL first off. We'll get into the tush-push vote, the teams that were announced for this year's Hard Knocks, and a new offensive line award that is way late, but it's
desperately needed too. Imagine all the linemen that have been dominating the NFL the last couple decades, and they haven't had a chance at this. That's
the real MVPs,
really the Joe Thomases of the world.
And then we'll sit down with Olivia Willis again, talking about this weekend's Gear Up for Greatness. I wouldn't say fundraiser, but
donation drive.
Donation drive was probably the best way to say it. She'll join us at 7:30. Then we'll get into not only the NBA comeback story, but the NHL comeback story that we was flipping back and forth during the games last night. And Dallas did something that doesn't really happen a lot in hockey. But then at the top of the hour, we'll sit down with a local comedian, John K. Burton, his debut on the Early Bird Special. And then we'll get into the Pacers comeback, and also we'll preview tonight's game between the Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder, which you can also hear live right here on on ESPN Bakersfield. But if you'd like to jump in with your comments or questions, just call in or text in at 661-842-2000.
Absolutely. We'll have plenty of questions and comments for you guys to jump in on later on during the show. But right now, as Sparky said, we got to start in the NFL because this story broke late last night. Or really yesterday afternoon, I should say. Not really
last night. Is for us is earlier.
Well, for them at the time, because I mean we have to remember time zones and stuff. This was much later for them. But unfortunately, we had a passing of one of the NFL owners yesterday, Jim Irsay, the president, CEO, and owner of the Indianapolis Colts, passed away yesterday at 65 years old. I'm not sure if the cause of death has been shared just yet. I do know that Jim had a long history with alcoholism and many other things, not to throw shade on the man, not trying to do that. It's just health issues obviously come with that. So it could be derived from that. 65 years old, still pretty spry for some people. I wouldn't want to go out at 65. That means I'm halfway there right now. But at this point, big, prayers and stuff to the Irsay family. I believe they said his daughter will be stepping in as she did a couple years ago after the DUI incident.
3 daughters.
Yeah. Well, all 3 of the daughters will be stepping in, but the eldest will step in like she did last time and pretty much take the main role of the leadership of the entire thing, maybe the CEO role going forward. But this is kind of interesting to see, especially coming right after the tush push vote, in which the Colts did vote to ban the tush push. They were about part of that 22 team group that couldn't get the vote passed. But I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Sparky? I mean, obviously we don't like seeing this kind of news in the football world, but obviously everybody has this happen to them at least once. So,
the vote or the passing?
Well, the passing. Let's start.
The passing is always tough. I know Irsay has been around since '97, where he took over for his father after he passed.
Youngest NFL owner at the time, if I'm not mistaken,
and he's been there since '97. So he's been a part of the franchise, most successful era. And I mean, it's always tough when anybody passes. And I'm sure, the Colts are, Irsay's been fighting all sorts of demons over the years and has actually came out and talked to the press about it. And it's sad for him and his family. And, we wish him the best wishes. But to move into something more, I wouldn't know, positive but just talking football, the tush push vote was not banned yesterday, which was kind of surprising after all the all the talk. But I did see that there was some fighting during
I
the
heard this as well. It got pretty
during the
heated during
voting.
these deliberations, I guess, between the owners in this conversation. Not surprising to me how passionate a lot of these guys can get about preserving the game and not having they not go their way, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, if you get into the argument, I guess it started with the owner of the Eagles,
Mhm.
Jeffrey Lurie, and he said the tush push was a wet dream for a teenage boy, which kind of upset a
That is
couple
a
different owners.
very weird way
And
to
a
put
weird way to
that.
say it. So
It's
NFL
way not
NFL exec
pause.
Troy Vincent came out and said that that's kind of inappropriate to say,
Yeah, no
especially
kidding.
with a bunch of women that were in the room taking part with the voting. And even Eagles legend Jason Kelsey, now that he's with ESPN, jumped in,
Yep.
joking. He'd said he would return to the NFL just to run a 60 tush push guy, tush push
60,
type game.
Yeah.
And he said that there is no proof that anybody is in concern or safety
Mhm.
issues with the play.
Well, the more I think about that too, and the argument that this isn't a football play. So let's take that at face value. If we're saying this is a rugby play, let's take rugby's injuries into example then. How often do rugby players get injured during a scrum? Not very often. I'm going to tell you that right now. So you add pads on top of that, would that not like make it a little bit safer? So I think that kind of thwarts the entire safety plan of all of this, but that's just my thoughts.
I mean, the vote was 22-10.
Yep.
It was only 2 votes away,
And unfortunately, my team was on the wrong side of history. Well, Sparky's was on the right side of history.
which
so.
was kind of a shocking thing. So
I
I wasn't.
Well, let's shout out those 10 teams that obviously voted to keep the tush push. I know we had Philadelphia, the Browns were part of that, the Patriots, as we said, the Dolphins were also one of them. The Jaguars were one. Oh Lord, now I'm drawing a blank on the rest. Do you have it in front of you,
Yeah,
Spark?
I'm looking at the Eagles, obviously.
We
the
said
Ravens, Browns, Lions,
Mhm.
Jaguars, Jets,
Mhm.
Saints, Patriots, Dolphins, and Titans.
God, the Saints even voted to keep it. Come on, Atlanta. Arthur, what are we doing? Why are you letting the Saints make us look bad, man? They're already in quarterback hell, and they just lost one of them this morning.
Yes.
I mean, why are we making the Saints making us look bad? It's ridiculous.
It's kind of strange. I'm sure that it's not the end of this vote until next offseason. I'm sure it'll be brought up again.
It's going to be brought up every single year until something is done about this.
Which was funny is Cowboys owner Jerry Jones admitted he was torn, saying he doesn't know if he's against the play or just tired of the Eagles having an edge.
Well, honestly, I think that's what kind of saved this play is that if you've read into this at all, really, you've heard that the Eagles have been making calls all summer to kind of sway owners towards their side of this. And I think that is what really pulled them, them playing politics, swayed at least 10 teams to their side. So I think that's a positive. And honestly, I was talking about this with Ralph Bailey yesterday on the Ralph Bailey show from 3 to 6 on our sister station of Kern. And he brought up a very good point as well. If they come into this next year and they lose even more, let's say Jerry switches sides next year and it votes to keep it. And then you get a handful of other guys switch sides. And now the votes may be 14 to, what would that make it? 18, something like that. And we're starting to move more towards that way. I say if you get anywhere between 16 to 18 teams to vote to keep this thing, they shelf that entire argument.
Yeah.
They say, all right, whatever, we can't win this.
Or the opposite, and someone gets hurt.
Right. That's my only thought is the only way that you're going to actually solidify this to potentially get the 24 teams you need. And this is a very bad way to put this, but somebody's got to get hurt seriously. Either a defensive tackle or a center has to be absolutely like your neck is destroyed hurt for this to really become a viable argument, in my opinion.
And does that make the NFL look ridiculous?
Not necessarily, because I feel like sports in general, we're a reactionary world. And honestly, it's how the cookie crumbles a lot of the time. If we can prove that safety is the biggest problem, or like if there's obviously a string of injuries, much like the kickoff rule. I mean, we had a lot of people vote for that to be changed, obviously, because of the high speed collisions and the injuries that come with that throughout the years. So realistically, if that happens here, it's just a reactionary thing. And I think that just comes with the game. So no, I wouldn't necessarily say that makes the NFL look bad in any way, but it definitely makes you look like you really don't care that much about your players' safety, because obviously you drug your feet to figure this out.
Yeah. And this is Lewis Riddick from ESPN talking about his reaction to the tush push vote.
This to me never was about injury risk, right? I mean, come on. It's a quarterback sneak that they run on 4th and short, 4th and 1. I mean, what this was like a Hail Mary to go, hey guys, we can't figure out how to slow this thing down. They have this ridiculous conversion rate on this. Can you help us out just by throwing it out? Can you just throw it out because we can't stop it? So I think here, for Philadelphia, hey, look, it's a huge win for them. Other teams need to look at exactly, what kind of countermeasures can they put into place in order to slow it down, which quite honestly, I don't really think you can.
Honestly, that's what I've been saying for weeks. That's all this kind of felt like to me, was the Green Bay Packers saying, hey, we can't figure out how to do this ourselves, and we can't figure out how to stop it on defense. So can you just throw it out? Can you just ban it so we don't have to worry about this anymore? That's genuinely what it felt like to me. But again, we've been arguing as well that if you're going to allow the tush push, you need to allow defenses to adjust and make plays in different ways to stop it. Ergo, your Luvu jumping over the lineman situation needs to be legal.
Yes.
That's just the way I look at it.
I wish they would have at least got into that. If they're going to keep it, then we should make some tweaks for the defense.
Well, maybe Philly does that next year. Maybe Philly throws out a I don't know exactly if you want to call it a comparison argument, or maybe just a side adjustment that says, hey, okay, we can do this, but now you guys are able to do this. I think that's a good way for Philadelphia to kind of win over a lot of these owners, is not necessarily fight for the play and, deny everybody's want to ban it, but why not make adjustments yourself? So when teams inevitably do this against you, because let's be honest, it's a copycat league. And I guarantee you right now, every offensive coordinator is putting this in their playbook. You have a way to stop it your dang self. So I think that that's really the best way to go about this. If you want to win a lot of the owners over and keep the tush push in football forever, I say you take the initiative, make some sort of amendment to the rules for the defensive side, and make it legal for people to do something different. Maybe like I think it was Jason Kelsey who said allow the defensive line to get into a scrum formation themselves, or maybe tell the referee that you're about to do a tush push, so that way the defense is prepared for it. Something along those lines to make it even,
like a 4-3 or 52, and
exactly.
Just gather up that line,
right? Like you can only, like you said yesterday, you can only do it on a 4th and 2, 4th and 1,
or limited amount of times you can do it.
Exactly. Like some sort of thing to make it a little bit even for the defense. So that way you don't have it like in certain situations when Philadelphia was using it this year, where it was always 3rd and 3, they get 2 yards and said, okay, 4th and 1, here we go. Like,
yeah.
and
I'm just glad it's over for the year. We can stop talking about it and get on to some football here shortly.
Yeah.
And speaking of the big boys, the big news out of the NFL, the big guys in the trenches, the NFL is finally showing some love to offensive linemen as the league's spring meetings were wrapping up yesterday. They announced that the creation of the Protector of the Year award for which will go to the best offensive lineman in the league. The winner will be chosen by the panel that includes former offensive line greats. The new award was pushed forward by Bills tackle Deion Dawkins and retired lineman Andrew Whitworth.
And I believe they gave what would have been this year's award to Deion for getting this enacted and stuff like that. It was like an honorary award. So that's also really cool. I'm wondering how they're going to decide this. Like, what's going to be the parameters that get you into the top lineman category? I like the fact that it's going to be voted upon by past lineman greats. I assume guys like Andrew Whitworth and Joe Thomas and a lot of these other guys are going to be the ones voting on this, who honestly probably would have won this award had it been a thing a decade ago. But I'm very interested to see who wins it the first time through here. Any early predictions, my friend, that you think maybe has a front runner on this?
I mean, Dawkins is up there.
Dawkins has to be, right?
I mean, whoever can keep their quarterback standing up.
Trent Williams, I would assume, would probably be a front runner as well.
Probably one of those big offensive linemen from Philly that keeps Barkley, running.
Right. But also thinking of it this way, because just me being devil's advocate here, as we do with the MVP, there are multiple positions that get to go for this because you have tackles, guards, and centers. which one is going to be, I assume the left tackle is going to be the one that is the most coveted, or at least gets the most credit, because that's the blind side tackle most of the time.
Yeah, for right-handed
So
quarterbacks.
exactly, or the right tackle if you're a left-handed quarterback. But does that kind of give you an edge, you feel, if you play backside tackle?
Probably. I mean, I would think it was going to be whoever wins MVP's offensive lineman,
Right.
their best offensive lineman on, say Josh Allen gets the MVP, and it's probably going to be the left tackle that pulls this award.
So Deion Dawkins.
Or, if a running back gets 1,900 yards again, what's the key offensive lineman that was, making those holes for him? But it's going to be, I mean, it should have been here decades ago.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I'm glad it's finally got passed, and we'll see. I don't think it'll really change much, but it'll probably be the biggest offensive lineman, the big names, just like the MVP. I don't know if it really goes with stats or just really the name worthy, because I don't think the MVP is really the best player of the year.
No, it's just the most valuable player to their team, as it usually is. But I feel like, at least when it comes to the lineman situation, the top guys that get talked about are the ones that, they don't allow anyone to touch their quarterback or running back for that matter. And honestly, like you said, if we go into how the parameters will be done, I think if you look at guys like the Eagles offensive line, you got Mayava and Lane Johnson over there. It's a tough choice in my opinion, but I want to throw this question to you and to our listeners out there who have their own comments about this as well. Text in right now, 661-842-2000. But is there any lineman in the past that you guys think should have won this award before, obviously, since it hasn't been a thing until this year? And you can go back as far as you want. We just want to hear some names of potential offensive linemen who really deserve this, because I think, your Zach Martins really deserve this for a long time. I've already said Andrew Whitworth. I mean,
Trent Williams,
Joe Staley would be a really good one too. If you have one that you want to shout out, 661-842-2000. Sparky, do you have one off the top of your head?
Armstead.
Eric. Now, you know what? That Teron Armstead would be a fantastic choice. I think he had a great tenure, not only with you guys, but with the Saints. And
I'm going back to the Saints here. So he didn't really do much in Miami.
Well, no, he was a solid guy for you guys, though.
For the 6 games he played. No.
Well, I mean, yeah, for when he played for the Saints, he was a problem. Nobody could actually stop him, he could stop everybody and no one could get past him. That's the better way to put this, but it is what it is. Personally, I think I got to go with Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas was, I mean, again, not a Cleveland fan in any way, shape, or form here in the corner, but if you want to talk about an offensive lineman that has just crushed in terms of longevity, in terms of just being the consistent backing for his team, even when they were awful, Joe Thomas got to be the best guy to talk about in terms of being an offensive lineman. But you said we got a caller?
Yeah, we got Adam with a name that he wants to throw out.
Fantastic. Adam, what do you got?
Richmond Webb kept Marino on his feet forever.
Yes,
sir.
He did. That's a very good choice, honestly. And again, this is why I want to hear a lot of these names, because offensive linemen never get the love they deserve. And to be honest with you, I coached football. I'm Pee-wee football. I'm not going to sit here and say that I coached anything crazy, but if you know football, you need an offensive line to win a championship. No break. Okay, fantastic. Sorry, you build. Beside that, I didn't know we were going to keep going.
Producer to producer, and you still said it.
My bad. I just didn't know you were going for that. But no, yeah. If you guys have any more linemen that you want to shout out that potentially should have won this award, I personally love seeing that the offensive line and the big boys are finally getting some love. Text it in or call in right now to 661-842-2000. We would love to hear the names, and we'll shout them out for you as soon as we get them.
Well, another thing that came out with the NFL yesterday is the inaugural Hard Knocks, which I believe
I'm excited for. I don't know. Sparky don't want to watch it. I know that.
Only thing I like is usually teams that are on Hard Knocks doesn't really do well that season.
That's fair.
And I did hear, is North Carolina doing a Hard Knocks too?
No. Okay. So that's what was originally supposed to happen. So for those of you who don't know, Hard Knocks is a very popular football show that comes on HBO where they follow either an NFL. Well, it has always been an NFL team during their training camp, but they have now expanded it into regular season. This year, they have decided to go with the Buffalo Bills for the training camp edition of this. And then during the regular season, they'll be covering the entire NFC East. So you'll get the Cowboys, Washington Commanders, Eagles, and Giants Giants again. That was a dumpster fire last year, if anybody watched that. But the Tar Heels were originally going to be the choice for, I believe, the training camp version. It was going to be the first time ever they followed a college team. And it's because Bill Belichick obviously is the new head coach of the Tar Heels. But with all of the turmoil that came around with Bill's girlfriend Jordan and wanting to be, I think, like the main producer or like during this, or executive producer during this time, and all of this other stuff, she wanted main hand in all of it. So Hard Knocks said, you know what, we're out, we're not doing this, we're just going to move on and we're going to make it our own thing. And I think that is when they decided to make the transition over to Buffalo and called them, and they said, yeah, sure, come on in, we'll gladly let you guys film us. And especially with everything going on for them, I mean, Josh has his wedding coming up, so I'm assuming they're going to be covering that as well during the show, and amongst other questions that the Buffalo Bills have had in the last couple of years, because their production has obviously fallen off since they've had to drop a lot of their players to pay Josh Allen the ridiculous contract that he has.
So the Bills will be the Hard Knocks for training camp beginning August 5th on HBO Max, and then the in-season edition, which I didn't watch last year.
I honestly very rarely watch the in-season edition. It's not that it's not good football or good TV. It's just I'm usually so focused on watching the games themselves that I really don't pay attention
And how
to.
they spread it out pretty much every day. So
yeah, but
I've got enough time to watch all this.
Yeah, no kidding. But honestly, I do enjoy it a little bit though, because you do get to see a firsthand look at what happens behind the scenes of, especially in the front offices. And I think last year with the Giants showed exactly how beneficial that can be and how dangerous that can be for your team. Because for those of you who don't know, last year they followed the New York Giants, who used to be the home of Saquon Barkley, the NFL's best running back. And it showed an entire conversation that the general manager of the Giants had with the rest of the front office, including the owner of the team, where he essentially talked them out of a contract extension with Saquon, which led to Saquon signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. And there's a lot of stuff that was said. I won't go into all of it because I mean, most of you who have already watched this know exactly what we're talking about. And those of you who don't probably don't care enough to go look for it anyway. But it really just made him look stupid. Genuinely, I don't know why this man still has a job. I think if they have another bad year, this man most likely is going to be out of a job, because there were multiple times where they even said if Saquon ends up signing with Philadelphia, who is a direct rival of the New York Giants, by the way, that there's going to be loss of sleep from the owner and blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly what happened. And look what happened. Philadelphia went and ran all over everybody, went on a 16-1 winning streak to end the season and won the Super Bowl. So it like I said, it is detrimental because it could show everybody how stupid you are. And I think guys like this guy, Nico Harrison, do not benefit from stuff like this. But I mean, for some people like myself who like to, get a little bit of a look into how at least the training camp and all this stuff works from the front office's standpoint, because that's where I like to see is the business side of all of this.
Yeah, I don't care for the Disney plot twists and how they pick a undrafted rookie and give the sob story when he doesn't make the team. And
they never make the team.
No.
Even if they do make the team, you very rarely see them during the season.
No, and they're usually training camp bodies but the one other thing is with the rule change with Hard Knocks, because usually they wouldn't make a team that's in the playoffs do it. So this is the first time. I guess there's a new rule that was changed that will make more teams eligible, including playoff regulars like the Bills. But usually they could opt out if they're a playoff team, but the Bills welcomed it. And hopefully, just like the Madden curse, it'll continue and the Bills will do jack.
Well, I mean, again,
but I do enjoy. Did you watch Netflix had the quarterback show that Peyton Manning was doing, and that was actually really good.
They had the wide receiver show too, which I personally thought the wide receiver show was better than the quarterback
really
show. Yeah, I mean, following Justin Jefferson and Debo and George Kittle and all those guys, I know Devontae Adams, I believe, was another one too.
God.
Honestly, it was actually pretty interesting, especially listening to Devontae through the entire turmoil in Vegas before he moved to the Jets and all that type of stuff. Like, seeing how that actually happened firsthand and what was really going on was very interesting to me, at least. But both of those series are fantastic. I mean, the quarterbacks one was couple years ago now, because Kirk Cousins was still with the Vikings and they were talking to Marcus Mariota when he was the quarterback of the Falcons right before he absolutely vanished on the entire NFL. But it's just, they were very cool stories. This I guess production team that Peyton has
It's
have
really good.
really been hitting them out of the park, because they're also the head for Stephanie's Place, which is the WWE version of Peyton's Places, where she goes around and gets firsthand stories from a lot of the WWE wrestlers and
She's
stuff
got
like
another
that.
show too.
Does she really? I mean, it's
But no, the Netflix
fantastic.
signed on for the second season of Quarterback, the docuseries, and it'll have Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and Jared Goff this
Why
year.
are we following Kirk again? I swear. Look, I know Kirk Cousins seems like a likable guy, and I'm sure he is a likable guy. No one's saying he's not a likable guy, but didn't we get enough of Kirk in season 1? I mean, is there not another quarterback that would have gladly jumped up? Why not Caleb? Let's go follow Caleb. That'd be a story right there. Go show me what Chicago's up to. Why do we want to watch the backup quarterback for Atlanta? Jeez.
Well, hopefully he won't be by the time they start recording in July.
No, he's the backup quarterback in Atlanta. I'm not going to say that
don't think
again.
you don't
Michael
think he goes
Penix.
anywhere?
Michael Penix is the future.
No, I don't think Cousins will
Oh,
be in
you mean,
Atlanta.
I'm sorry. Oh, you mean like as if they traded him. I know, I agree with too. Hopefully he's not on the rosters at that time, but we don't know how that's going to go yet. So
If I'm the Falcons, I'd trade him to New Orleans.
you
Let
know
him
what?
have it.
At this point, they just lost a quarterback, so you
Yeah.
might as well give him somebody else. But again, you know how I feel about interdivisional trades. I just don't think they happen.
But we did have one more last text regarding the offensive lineman. It said Jason Kelsey, Leon Lett, Zach Martin, and my favorite all-time offensive lineman, Max Montoya of the Raiders.
Ooh, Max Montoya would have been interesting. That's a good choice. And Jason Kelsey definitely would have won at least once in his career too. I know that he downplays his career, but Jason really does have one of the better build-up stories of his career, because if you really followed the way he came into the NFL, he was seen as a potential starter for the Eagles, but he had a really, really bad first couple years for the Eagles before he really started to figure it out. And then once he figured it out and had the work ethic down too, it really was just written in the stars. So I genuinely believe that Kelsey would have at least won it once in his career.
Well, we'll take our first break and we'll come back with Olivia Willis, who is a Centennial High School student that has set up Gear Up for Greatness. We'll be able to talk to her about last weekend's Fred Warner camp that she attended, as well as the Gear Up for Greatness drive this Saturday right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Call or text AM 101.1 FM. Now, back to the Early Bird Special.
Are you trying to stump the two young ones in here? Is that what's happening?
Michael Jackson wakes me up, man.
Yeah, man. This is a Michael song I don't even remember.
Because you weren't born yet.
I wasn't even sparkling in my dad's eye yet.
Oh, man.
Good Lord.
But
Well,
we've got superstar Olivia Willis is back from Gear Up for Greatness. And I'm seeing her everywhere. I was telling her off air. I saw her at KGT. I saw some other stories all over town. She's building it up and she's killing it. Plus, you're going into your senior year?
Yes.
So this is the last week. Next week is the last week.
Next week is the last week.
Your junior
Yes.
year.
are you gonna cry? I
Maybe.
think mom behind me is the one that's supposed to
Maybe.
be crying. I don't know if you're supposed to be crying.
My son's gonna be a junior, so I'm like, oh man.
Tall too. That was the first time I'd seen your son in a while at Kids Fest, and I did not realize how tall he was. He's taller than you.
But no, let's get into before we get into this weekend's drive. I know last weekend you got to go hang out with Fred Warner and
Yes.
Co.
Yes.
So how was that?
That was so much fun. It was amazing. I actually got to take a picture with him, which is like my dream come true. I was in shock. I was like, "Hey, Fred, can I take a picture with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And then we took a picture, and he fist bumped me at the end. And now, like, I haven't washed the hand still.
Well,
but
you must be
yeah.
good luck because he got paid a couple days after
Yeah.
that.
Yes, he
so
did.
So
Became the highest paid linebacker
Yeah.
too. So how was the camp though? Was it a really enjoyable experience
it
for
was
you?
so much fun. I got to do media and take pictures for it, and I sent the pictures in, and they love them.
Fantastic. Did
it
they
was
take
fun.
any from you?
I haven't seen any of the
Oh,
pictures
okay.
that they took, but he said it was great, and they actually asked me if I want to do another camp, and I said, of course. So
Well, see if they reached
Yeah.
out to you for that. They mean they liked your pictures at
Yeah.
least that much. So that's
Yeah.
a good sign.
yeah,
Very
So-
cool. Well, it's a
did,
good way
did
to
he
get
bring
started.
players with him?
he did not. But
He
it's
did
okay.
not?
He did not.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, see, hold on now. Christian's a different thing though. We're
Oh,
hoping
yeah.
Christian brings
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
a
it's good.
certain overpaid quarterback.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So
I'm just saying.
let's get that out of the way. Fred Warner got paid, and then Brock Purdy got paid as well.
As he should
Mom's
be.
already wanting to hit me. I already know this. Okay.
So as a 49er fan, what do you think?
He deserves every penny.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, we're swapping now.
no, I'm not an
Somebody
anti-Birdie,
was telling me
I'm
the
a
other
Dolphins
day that he
fan.
was overpaid.
but that's not overpaid if that's the reg. I mean, that's the normal thing. If you're going to keep your quarterback, you got to pay him.
Right.
I'm saying the same thing with the Dolphins. I mean, I don't think Tua deserved that much money, but it was our best option, and you
Fair.
got to pay what you need. I mean, I don't want to hit reset and watch another 20 years of 30 different quarterbacks rotating. So we have a starter, hopefully for a whole season. And the same thing with Purdy. I know Purdy's a longtime Dolphins fan, and you know he wears number 13 because his favorite player was Dan Marino. Did you know that?
I did know that.
So
but
Mr. Irrelevant is gotten paid.
He's relevant now.
No, he's absolutely relevant. No one's saying he's not relevant. I just saying need a little bit more out of the man, in my opinion, to make 50 mil. But that's just my personal opinion.
With the same guy that paid for Kirk Cousins.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Exactly.
whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah.
whoa! Don't you start talking as
No,
if I
let's start
liked
on
that
this.
contract.
Yeah, let's start on
I've
this.
said this for years. You can go back on our YouTube channel. I did not like that contract.
See, I
I
could hit that nerve.
hate that contract.
I found that nerve.
I know. I've been wanting to kick that man out of Atlanta since the day he stepped foot on the freaking field.
But Olivia, you're the heart of Gear Up for Greatness. So listeners who might not have heard the first interview, what is Gear Up for Greatness?
So I'm doing a donation drive for a youth football camp for Christian McCaffrey. And I'm raising gear, mouthpieces, gloves, and cleats for the participants that they can keep for the camp. And I actually get to do media for that camp too. So I'm so excited. But
Nice.
yes. And the donation drive is this Saturday at the Olive Branch Community Church. So
From
10 to noon.
10
10 to
noon.
noon.
Yes. 1.
We'll be
10
out
10 to
there.
1.
I'll definitely swing by. I've got some stuff for you. We got a
Yes.
check from Moneywise that wants to help out. So
I'm so
We're-
excited. Thank you so
it
much.
is really cool to see even a couple weeks ago when we talked, everything was like, we're trying to lock in everything. And it looks like by the look of all the media you're getting, I think you're going to get a big turnout.
I'm hoping at least like 30 people just bringing something. That would be amazing. That would be an excess in my opinion. So
What really made you want to start this?
I wanted to I love football, and obviously I want to go into sports journalism in college. So I wanted to get experience. And I just wanted to do media at first, but then I was thinking of doing a passion project for colleges. And I thought I wanted to help the participants, not just help taking pictures of the participants.
Of
So
course.
I thought I would do a donation drive and raise awareness to the camp, and so the participants can have fun stuff.
Mhm.
I'm getting gloves that have like cool designs on them and like different colors and patterns. So it's like interesting. It's not just they're wearing a shirt; they have cool gloves too that they can keep.
Right on.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I know the drive isn't until Saturday, but you've been collecting stuff over, the last month or so. Is there any certain things that you're really in need of, or is there also a way for people to donate that can't make it out Saturday?
Yes, so I'm looking for gloves, cleats, and mouthpieces. That's our main focus. But we also have a GoFundMe at Gear Up for Greatness Baco, where you can donate to.
Okay. And not use mouthpieces, obviously.
No, thank you.
It's the one thing you cannot gently
Yes.
use is your mouthpiece. Leave it at home.
Yes.
But hey, you never know with some people. Some people bring that. They just assume.
Oh my gosh. Well, how can people in the community get involved? I mean, are you looking for not only donations, but any volunteering to help out on Saturday?
I have a couple of my friends helping out to volunteer, so we're not looking specifically for volunteers. So yeah.
I mean, at least it won't be triple digits and get it in and
Yeah.
out.
Get it out of the way before that starts.
So
Yes.
when in is, I know the Christian McCaffrey is, I believe, the first week of June. Do you know the
Yes.
info of that?
It's the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay, second week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second week.
I believe it was the 13th at BHS.
Yes, BHS.
Yeah.
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 Sorry. I know there's a lot of BHS listeners. We're right around the corner.
Yeah.
And that's not my blue truck out there, I promise. But no, do you plan on just my final question? I don't know if Burdick has anything else for you, but is there any plans to expand this and continue to do other drives after this?
I would love to. That would be so amazing and so fun. But this is my first focus for right now. But
Of course, you're still in high school.
yes, but
You gotta
I
have
would-
some time for fun too.
Yeah, but if another player, maybe Purdy, the best quarterback,
What?
Oh, now we're
Yeah.
saying the best quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Best quarterback on the roster.
deserves
I get
every
it.
penny.
Yeah, best quarterback on the roster. There you go.
Deserves every penny. If he wants to come out, of course they'll do a camp. But anybody, another camp in Bakersfield, I'd consider doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I had. You
Well,
pretty
I
much covered
definitely,
everything
I
was
would
gonna
definitely
ask.
expect McCaffrey to bring a couple of his buddies. I know I took my little brother to a Joey Porter camp when he was around your age, and we were shocked because he brought, Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown. And I was like, I was in heaven. I was like the high school girl, like, oh my gosh, do I talk to him? Do I talk to him? And they were all really cool. So I'm super excited for you. I'm proud of you. You got the biggest heart. And I mean, I'm going to continue, and we're going to continue to pump this up. And anytime you want to come on to promote anything, we just wish you the best. And we'll see you Saturday from 10 to 1 this Saturday, May 24th at the Olive Branch Community Church, which is off of Olive Drive. We'll post all the info after the show today, and we just really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
No problem, hon. Well, we got to take a break real quick, pay some bills ourselves. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, you can watch us online on YouTube as well at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back.
The early special on YouTube.
You don't even know this song. I'm happy you know this song. I didn't even ask for this. I'm not even like
I actually got to see them a couple years ago at
Did you really?
Aftershock.
I just randomly came across them on Spotify one day. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is Hatebreed.
It's this. This is also the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick, and that's Sparky. Real quick, we got to get into the NHL playoffs because we had one of the most incredible comebacks outside of the Pacers yesterday. The Dallas Stars came back down 3-1 in the third period thanks to 3 power play goals in a 5.5-minute section. I mean,
That's insane.
it's absolutely insane. The game now, granted, I know me and Sparky have been vocal about being behind Edmonton, so this kind of this spurned a little bit, obviously, in that area. But to watch it happen in the way it did, the first goal happening 32 seconds in, thanks to a power play that carried over from period 2, that should have been the first indicator of saying, "Oh, this is not good." And honestly, the 2 that came after that to give them the lead, and then they just ran with it. Dallas looks good. Dallas looks hot. And honestly, I think Edmonton might be in trouble.
I don't know. I mean, I know both teams are comeback machines.
Absolutely.
I know the Stars entered with 5 comebacks just in this postseason, as well as Edmonton. They had a record with 5 straight comeback victories earlier in the playoffs. I mean, it's going to be a tough series, and I think this is perfect time outside of football that we're getting great entertainment out of both sports in the playoffs. And it kind of takes away when you're working, 8-10 hour days. It kind of takes away of like, damn, there's also baseball going on. But luckily for Sports Center, I could catch up after watching. I was flipping back. My buddy Jeremy, he's a big hockey guy, so he was texting me. He's like, "This hockey game is way better than the basketball game." I said, "Yeah,
Let's give it a sec.
hold up." I mean, I give your opinion because you're a big hockey guy.
Yes.
But this is probably the best basketball game I've seen this playoff season, or really the whole season.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was hard to come flip back and forth. I needed a second TV. The wife shot it down. I was like, come on, babe, just right next to it.
Yeah, just right
just,
there. It's super simple.
We don't need 2 cable boxes anymore. It's
No,
2025.
no.
We can just have both apps up.
Exactly. One running one running the other. It's
But
simple.
no, it was a hell of a game, and that was just game 1.
Yep.
So I know I'm still going to back the Oilers.
Oh, I'm still backing the Oilers as well. I'm hoping we get a turnaround from Edmonton, but this just to witness the push and literal power through power plays in period 3 was just incredible. I personally did not see it coming, and for them to score 5 goals in 1 period, that's just otherworldly.
And sad for me, I looked and it was 3-1. I was like,
Yep.
okay, I don't need to watch this.
Same.
I switched back.
And I watched it, but Edmonton's defense just dissolved. It didn't look like it knew what to do at all. There were plenty of again, the power plays didn't help at all. They played a man down throughout a good portion of the beginning of period 3, but you still have to make the adjustments, play a little bit more on the defensive side, slide someone back. One of your wings has to come back to help. And honestly, it just didn't work out for him at all. And you need to make those adjustments in game 2. Obviously, I do expect Leon Draisaitl and McDavid to at least get a goal apiece in game 2. Because I don't think McDavid got one in this one. I know Draisaitl did, but I don't think McDavid scored once. So I would look for both of them to take over in game 2 if Edmonton has any chance of turning the series around and evening it at 1 apiece.
And surprising, the Stars broke their game 1 curse. Over the last 10 years, they'd lost 9 of their last 10 playoff series opening games. And we'll see. Game 2 is tomorrow. I believe the game starts at 5. And tonight, Florida tries to go up game 2, 2-0 on the Hurricanes, which is also 5 p.m. And this is off topic, but basketball, is it going to be every day now?
I believe so. Yeah. No, that's usually how it works.
That's a great setup.
Unless they do one extra day on travel days, but I do believe that they will be going every other day. Because, I mean, we, at least here at ESPN Bakersfield, will have one basketball game a day for the rest of the weekend. Yeah.
That's awesome. My wife was asking, is this
the
is this
stretch
over?
to
I
the
think it's every day
finals.
now.
Yeah, the stretch to the finals is always quick. I mean, it gets there faster, but I do believe that at some point it's going to just go back to back days. I think hockey is the same way too. I don't believe they're going to let them go a day without, or at least they get 1 day of rest. And
That's
then
what I was
usually go
wondering
back
if
to back.
with the travel. So I'm looking at it now. It looks like, we'll get game 2, which we'll get into in the second hour with the Timberwolves and Thunder.
Right.
And then Pacers and Knicks is Friday. So yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is awesome.
Dude, I'm telling you, and you already brought it up, but this has really been one of the most entertaining playoff runs that we've had in some time in just in TV. Because if you really take into account the incredible comebacks in basketball, hockey has been incredibly entertaining. I mean, we're obviously in the midst of the NFL draft and all of that's been happening. This really is one of the best times to be a sports fan because everything is at its peak. Baseball is kicking off. We're 40 games in on that. It really is hard to say what sport is thriving right now and what isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And before we get away from football and get into, I know we have John coming in at the top of the hour, but then we'll get into the big comeback and preview tonight's game. But there was some miscellaneous stuff that I caught yesterday. Not only did Purdy get his deal, but his initial asking price on the deal was he was asking for 65.
What?
Oh, and he only ended up with 53.
Oh no. Look, okay.
That is a ton of money, dude.
Look, Olivia's mom is still in the building too, so she
Yes.
might come in here and beat me after I say this. In between breaks, while we were waiting to bring Olivia on, I did bring up the fact that we were going to talk about Brock Purdy's contract because as a 49er fan, I'm very curious what you guys think about the contract, and no one has texted in yet and let us know what their thoughts are. And to be honest with you, I've said it since it's happened. I think he deserved maybe at the tippity tip top 50 mil. Not 53, not 55, anywhere between 45 to 50 mil I thought was fair for Brock Purdy. Now, I brought this up to Olivia and her mother. Her mother looked at me and said, 2 back-to-back NFC championship games and he's not worth this money. I looked at her and said, you ever heard of Mark Sanchez? Is he worth $50 million? Because that man made multiple back-to-back AFC championship games. I'm just saying. At some point,
that's a lot of money, man.
I mean,
it's a good agent.
It's
obviously
great
going to
agent.
start high and then go low. I've watched enough of the auction shows to know that's where you start.
Yeah, and honestly, he is the biggest raise I think I've ever seen in the NFL. He went from Mr. Irrelevant to $53 million.
Boom.
I think that's pretty dang good.
Yeah, and he came out and said, well, I just wanted to make sure my players, my teammates got covered first.
Right, but you're asking for 65 mil.
I'm like,
okay. You were really thinking about your teammates at that point, Brock. 100%. Look, I know everybody wants their money, and like you just said, shoot high and you fall down to the stars. That's exactly what he did. $53 million is a great payday for you. I say keep said payday and run with it, big boy, because, again, personally, overpaid. But that's just my personal opinion. I need to see what the guy can do without all of the star pieces that he had around him, especially the wide receivers. Let's not pretend like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are scrubs.
Yeah.
These are superstar wide receivers that would probably be stars on any other team in the NFL. So until I see that Brock Purdy is the one that really shifted all of this towards the 49ers way, which all of last year when he didn't have the stars around him of Christian McCaffrey and stuff like that, let's not forget, they absolutely sank.
Mm-hmm.
They floundered. They didn't have a winning season last year. So let's not pretend.
There's a lot of injuries too, but
that's my point.
I mean, keeping it with money, I know Purdy got paid, but another guy we've talked about off and on throughout the show is Trey Hendrickson.
Yes.
And reports came out yesterday that the Bengals actually have offered him 28 per year, which should land him in like the top 10, like the bottom half of the 10.
Yeah.
And Hendrickson came out and said, I want more.
Yeah,
That's lowballing me.
Again, sack king in the NFL. I don't think he's getting $40 million a year because obviously that is reserved for guys who can do multiple things, including run stop. Not to say Trey is a bad run stopper, but he's just more of a pass rush specialist, I would say. I still think he deserves at least 35. I think that's a fair number.
I don't think he's going to play for him.
I don't think so either. I think he gets traded before the season begins, maybe to somebody who has the money that can pay him. But at this point right now, if you're Trey Hendrickson, I don't take anything under $35 million.
Yeah, what do you guys think? You think Hendrickson gets paid, and where, if he does get traded, where does he go? Or does he sit out the whole year? We'll get into that, and we'll actually finally get into the NBA after we talk to local comedian John K. Burton right after this break, the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special, Hour 2. And we have another special guest in the building with us, another hilarious comedian. Mr. Burton's in the house. What's happening, brother? How are you?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. I mean, getting through the week, and it's a Thursday, so we're almost there.
I know, right?
And we have a Monday off for the first time in a while, so I get to actually enjoy my weekend.
Hey, I don't.
No,
I'm
neither
still
do
part
I.
of the customer service world. It's
Oh God, ew. Well, I mean, this is your first time on the show. You are a comedian here locally.
Mhm.
Explain your comedy to people, because I like to explain to the listeners that every comedian has their own particular style to their comedy. Maybe it's like our buddy Tyson, I love to say, is a stepdad comic, because a lot of his jokes have to do with his kids or his stepkids, stuff like that. So how would you explain your comedy?
Well, I like to basically call myself, I am the biggest comic in Bakersfield. And because of that, it's just basically a ton of fat jokes. That's pretty much what it is. Like, if I'm not feeling bad about myself by the end of the night, I didn't do a good job.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, well, self-deprecating humor is the best humor, though, because
Yes.
everybody can get in on that, right?
I mean, I don't know if everyone can relate to being 400 pounds,
Well,
but I try my best.
How long have you been doing this, though?
I've been doing it for about 2.5 years.
Okay. And what got you started? Just an open mic here locally?
Well, I was living the American dream, right? I got married at 20, divorced at 30, life imploded, then started comedy like everyone normally does.
Oh, good lord.
Sounds like my life.
You've had a roller coaster, my friend.
Oh yeah, man, it's the best.
Okay. Well, obviously 2.5 years in the game. Where have you been locally? Where can people find you?
Well, of course, I'm over at the Well Comedy Club right now. We're at Ava's. I've been at Tumblr. I've gone to like Paso Robles and like stayed in the Valley a little bit. I've gone to LA. So, but for the most part, I'm going to be at the Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, that's obviously where we like to go the most is the Well, or now
Of course.
Ava's.
And Ava's and the Nile, and they're everywhere right now until they the new spot opens.
Yeah.
Which we got to talk to Betts about it a couple weeks ago. But I like to ask because we know Anthony and his silly foot jokes. But do you like the different? I mean, what is the difference between the old Well off of White Lane and doing shows over here at Ava's?
I mean, the biggest difference is going to be just the feel of the room, right? Whereas in like the Well felt like a club, and Ava's looked like certain people weren't allowed like 40 years ago inside. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's just a little too fancy for this.
Right. It's like there's been some weird bad things said in these walls, so I felt right at home. No, just kidding.
Oh, right on. So, I mean, I know last that we heard, we were looking at hopefully late summer for the new Well, maybe even earlier. I know we got to hear the story about the old chef that, you know, messed up all the plumbing at the new location. And our buddy Shauna that used to run Fish Lips over there, she had some nice comments about the former owners of their. So I'm super pumped. I really enjoyed the Well. We got to see the final show. We got to see the first show actually before Dan took it and turned it into a comedy show. And it kind of just landed perfectly because when we met Dan, he was doing open mics over at the Rocket Shop Cafe back in the day. And since then, you know, we turned it in the Well, which was going to be a music venue when it first opened, and COVID shut it down, and it opened up the opportunity for, you know, to open up a full-time comedy scene. Now, you said you started about 2.5 years ago. Did you actually start with the open mics, or did you just jump in?
I jumped in. I mean, so I've been a big comedy fan my whole life. And like right out of high school, I did try startup or stand up, but there wasn't a scene like back in like 2006. I mean, there might have been. Boyston said there was, but I don't believe him.
From Taft, maybe in Taft.
Yeah, maybe. But so then I would like, you know, take all my like allowance money that I had and basically like go down to Hollywood and try to hit some mics, and that eventually dried up, and then I had to be a responsible adult. But once the club opened and the word got out, I was like, oh, this is finally it. And then I just took the jump, and it's been great. It's the scene is amazing. It's allowed for new friendships. You know, I even like started a podcast with him where it's just a bunch of us playing, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. And so it's,
Nice.
you know, we're having a blast.
Dude, that has been on the rise lately. People watching other people play D&D is fantastic. It's always a good time. But do you have anybody that you kind of see as an inspiration of why you wanted to get into the comedy game?
My biggest inspiration is Ralphie May.
Yes. Love Ralphie May.
Ralphie May, Louis C.K. and
My
Bill
favorite.
Burr.
Bill Burr is hilarious
Yes.
too. Those are all great ones. I mean, we talked to Nathan last week, and honestly, I was shocked when he said that he didn't have somebody who kind of inspired him to get on the mic, because usually that's what happens is you have somebody that kind of just like their stand-up made you believe like, oh, I could do that, or I want to do that. So which one was it for you that kind of like really sparked it for you, that it's like, you know, oh, I really want to be like that guy?
I think the biggest one was Ralphie May. Like, to be very honest, like the fact that like he could nonchalantly like go up there and just be the confident big guy. Like it wasn't just like self-deprecating, but it was like owning up to it and like having that like, I am big and it's also funny and I'm okay with it. I was like, okay, that's cool, because the whole other time I've literally been just like deflecting bullies since I was a smaller child. I wouldn't say small child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so I just took that and I've been just trying to kind of perfect that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, it seems to me that it's more because, like, you see guys like Fluffy that come on that kind of like lean into it a little bit more, but he doesn't really make jokes about it. Like, he'll make jokes about how he likes to eat, but he doesn't really make jokes about his weight, kind of a thing. And obviously, he's shaving it off. Do you kind of see that as a not like an anti what you usually do, but like something that you would go against, kind of a thing? Like it seems like Gabriel is kind of going against the weight humor, kind of a thing.
I mean, it got him to where he was.
Right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
That's kinda what I'm
his
thinking
biggest
too.
joke was whole like, you know, the damn, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like, and so like I'm even in that point too. Like I want to get healthy. I want to, you
Right.
know, live long enough to see my
And
son
it seems like in
graduate.
the
So it's-
world we
yeah.
live in today, it's so easy to have like the Ozempic shot and stuff like that. So it's kind of
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
That's where
they
I'm at.
shouldn't. Like, I mean, even my doctor was like, "You should," and I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "You need to have a better mental health." Like,
yeah.
that's
Honestly,
what
it's
it comes
not the
down to.
same. You're going to be ruining a lot of other things for yourself.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
before we let you go, we are a sports show, so we like to ask: are you a sports fan? Is there any team that you follow in like particularly?
I have a Niners blanket, like
We have another Niner
on
fan.
top of my couch that I've had since I was a baby.
Okay, so I have to ask you the same question I asked the last Niner fans that were just in this
I was
studio
gonna say you're
a
gonna
couple
open up a
minutes
whole
ago.
another door now.
Uh-oh.
Brock Purdy's contract. How do you feel?
I think it's great.
Okay.
I 100% think it's great. I think it's a long time coming. I think people were doubting him like crazy. I don't understand the guy. Obviously, who's that guy from the Commanders who couldn't handle the pressure?
All of them.
Oh yeah, every single one. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but I
Mhm.
mean, so Purdy like got us there. Yes, he has a lot of tools, and some of those tools have left. I get it. So we're gonna really see if that contract can hold up. But you don't take a guy who has given you those opportunities and
Yeah.
still give him like chump change compared
True.
to everybody else.
That's fair.
You know
Okay,
what I mean?
I'll
I mean-
take that.
And the longer they wait, the higher the price is going to be.
This is
If
true.
they waited another year, or it could be that 65 he originally asked for. So I mean, I get it. I'm a longtime Dolphins fan, and I still have my Dolphins blankie from when I was a baby as well. So my thing is the same thing as Tua might not be the best quarterback, but it's our best option. He's the best on our roster. And watching 30 quarterbacks over the last 25 years rotate after Marino, I'm like, dude, just pay the guy. It's the best option we have. I mean, it could have been worse. We could have, paid up and got or traded for Deshaun Watson, which we were in the discussion of doing.
So is it?
So I'm happy that, I'm a big fan of Purdy. I mean, we'll see. This is a good test for him, but it's good to have a team and fans behind the guy. They're not going in and bashing his contract. And
Oh, no. If there's one thing the Niner faithful are good at is being loyal to their players. I will say that 110%. However, I still stand on my statement. I feel like it's a little bit of an overpaid. Just me.
It's the
I
whole
don't know.
quarterback model is overpaid right now.
No, absolutely fair. And again, like we just said, he was asking for $65 million. So you really made out pretty well on that one. Like if you add another $12 million on top of his contract right now, really?
And as well as you got,
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey in your backfield, I think they'll be fine.
Are you going to have Christian McCaffrey
As
in the
long as he's
backfield,
healthy.
though?
As long as he's healthy.
As long as he's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a glass cannon. I
Yeah.
love him to death, but we need to protect him at all costs.
Absolutely. And honestly, at this point, he's like the fish in SpongeBob. He has glass bones and paper skin. So,
Jeez.
real quick, do you have any shows coming up that we need to know about?
My biggest thing I like to promote is the podcast. It's called
Okay.
Rolling with Comics. You can find it anywhere. We have all the local favorites that I like. John Hacker, Boydston's on it. Andrew Boydston. We have Alyssa Suggs. We have Jay Newkirk, Trevor Chavez, and we have a new one coming up. And we're just finishing our last season. We're finishing it up, and then we're going to start a whole new season here probably in the next month.
So are you the dungeon master, or are you one of the ones that actually play?
Right now, I'm the dungeon master. I'm going to
Okay.
be finally taking a little bit of heat off me, and I can just do the editing and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then Trevor's going to be dungeon mastering the next session.
Nice. Okay, so what has the campaign been so far then?
A chaos, computer chaos. Yeah,
As that
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
becomes.
yeah. Plot is kind of on the back burner when you have nothing but people trying to be funny the whole time.
Right. I mean, well, but that's also obviously good for you guys and your content, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you have
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
but comedy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
And
So,
where can they find the podcast? Is it available now?
it's available now. We just did 2 episodes where we all tried shrooms for the first time. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
super funny.
I can only imagine.
Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, anywhere.
Do you guys on YouTube as well, like
Yep,
the visuals?
also on YouTube.
Okay.
Well, no visuals
No
yet.
visuals yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cameras are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Absolutely are.
Saying the
Trust me,
guys
we
on
know
radio.
very well. So-
No, we appreciate it. And, you could find John K. Burden on Instagram, which we'll share later after the show.
absolutely.
Yeah, J.Bird88.
Yes.
The only person that uses the bird tag besides me, too. I thought that was funny. When we got that text in, I was like, is this my cousin? Who's this?
We
It
could
is-
be.
It is
You
a
never
small
know.
town.
My dad was a Rolling Stone.
Oh,
Anyway.
oh, wow. Well, there you go.
Well, we appreciate it, John. We'll talk to you real soon. And if you have time, we'll bring you back. I know we've got Boydson coming up here in a couple of weeks. And, we'll just keep rolling. And we appreciate you getting up this early. And I know the customer service world is hell. So
Good luck.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah. I will take my coffee and my I'll get through it.
I hope so. All right, brother. We appreciate your time. We'll have you on again soon.
All right, guys.
Thanks. We got to take a break and pay some bills real quick. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube right now at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back.
on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM, and always streaming at espnbakersfield.com.
Had to hear the break real quick. Never heard that song in so long. This is the early bird special.
On my old man playlist.
Is it really? You know what's funny? The only reason I knew that song existed is because of the Power Ranger
I was
movie.
gonna say a movie or a video game.
The original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie, because that was my generation. And
Oh my gosh.
just
I watched
I mean,
I watched a recent documentary on the
it
Power
is
Rangers.
not pretty.
I wasn't a Power Ranger guy because I
No.
grew up with the Ninja Turtles, which turtle
Way
power.
way better.
But my little brother Shane was a big Power Ranger
See,
guy.
but I never understood. I was a
I
big
didn't
Power
know this
Ranger
story.
guy when I was younger, but that's because it was superheroes, and I just kind of, side
Yeah.
by side. It's a kid superhero thing. But you really don't understand like the story and stuff like that until you really like dive into what they talk about or the actual like comics that come with this, because it is convoluted as heck and it's very odd. But
Well, before we move away, we did, which you can call or text in anytime at 661-842-2000. Sorry, I got 3 different stations in my head.
yes,
right
you
now.
do. Yeah.
Brock Purdy. So the listener said Brock is the 9th highest quarterback and led them to 2 NFC championships. Mark Sanchez didn't lead the Jets to 2 AFC championships. His defense did, which I do agree. But you just remember he's a USC fan too.
Guys,
so
no.
I'll finish the message.
Okay, finish the message first.
Niners both years they went and had a top 10 offense. And also remember, he's got to pay all those great California taxes we have.
Again, that means nothing. That the taxes have nothing to do with this.
Which there is a
2.
sports tax. Did you know that?
Yes, there is. That's the weird thing. It's like a flat, like what is it, 20-25% or something like that?
Well, it's because they travel half the season, so there's a different tax. But there's a lot of tax, especially when you're making millions.
You're getting taxed regardless. Everybody's getting taxed. That's not the point. And the point wasn't that Mark Sanchez led them to 2. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that Brock Purdy led you to 2 NFC championship games, not George Kittle, not Christian McCaffrey, not Deebo Samuel, not Brandon Ayuk, we'll find out this year. Because you guys seem to forget what happened last year.
Man.
No, I'm not
all the
saying
hate
you.
against Purdy.
I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying that the stats don't line up. You guys seem to forget what happened to the Niners last year when he didn't have those pieces around him. Brock wasn't hurt last year. Brock played all year. And granted, yes, 7th highest QBR. Good for him.
Yeah, but his running back was gone.
Where were the Where's the wins, dude? You're getting paid $53 million. It is no longer, his running back wasn't there. Oh, his wide receivers weren't there. No, now it's on you. You are the guy. You're the starting quarterback for the 49ers. You're getting paid $53 million. If you do not produce this year, I want to hear from you guys then.
Well, in a year, that $53 million would be chump change because these quarterbacks each year,
That's fair.
It's been jumping up, $7 to $10 million each year. And I hear the same thing. I've got a ton of Patriot fans that sit here and bash me every time. Every time I see them, it's, is Tua going to be able to play this year? And Tua got paid. It's the quarterback position. And I expected him. I know there was a big jump because the opinion was that he should have got around 45 to 46 million. Yeah, he got 53 and he wanted 65. So, good for him. And it is going to be an uphill battle. He's going to have to prove to a lot of NFL fans that he is the guy. And I think he's a hell of a quarterback. And I think he's
a good quarterback.
I think he's a hell of a quarterback. And I think he'll have a good year. It's so difficult to put a price on a quarterback these days just because not one, but the defense it's a whole team effort.
Right.
So, I like how the franchise players usually will take less and they always go back to the Bradys and the Mahomes and what they were getting paid or what they're getting paid. But if you look at, the top 10 quarterbacks that are getting paid, including Lamar Jackson, including the Josh Allens, none of them have won Super Bowls. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't come with the price tag that, oh, you're winning championships, you're going to be the highest paid, which it's not how it's worked out in the NFL. So I agree on both sides. I totally understand where Burdick's coming from, and it's difficult to bring up Sanchez and include
Yes, and my point
include
wasn't that
Purdy.
he led them there. My point is he worth the money? Because if you're going to sit there and tell me that Brock Purdy hasn't had a similar situation, you're full of it. If you don't like, you're going to Niner fans are going to sit here and tell me that your defense hasn't been great the last couple years with Hufanga coming out of nowhere, Fred Warner, your entire slew of defensive linemen that have come out of there, including DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, and really, but he doesn't have a defense helping him.
Well, on the positive side is I'm glad they got Warner paid. I'm glad Kittle got paid, and all these guys
That you
needed
should
to get paid. And I'm glad that they all got paid before Brock. And I mean,
And you're
I'm
right.
not a 49er fan,
No.
so
It's a bargain too. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right on that. 3-4 years from now, this will look like a bargain deal. However, all I'm saying is we're going to be talking about this about a year from now. And if you guys end the way you did last season, I want to hear you guys justify paying this guy $53 million then.
Yep. I could see that. In other news around the NFL, former NFL defensive lineman Randy Crowder has passed away this morning at the age of 72. Crowder was a first-team All-American over at Penn State in the early 70s and was drafted by the Dolphins. Of course, that's why it popped up on my phone.
Well, naturally.
But he had a crazy career, and not only was it got derailed when him and Don Reese were convicted of selling some coke and did some prison time, but he cleaned up, went to actually be a defensive line coach back at Penn State, and just another football guy passing away. And I also wanted to throw out before we got into the NBA, because then we could spend the last half hour just talking basketball, because that's what we've been wanting to get off our chest. But Stan Barrett, the longtime Sports Center anchor, is reportedly leaving ESPN after 25 years.
Yep. They're not renewing his contract, from what I understand, which is a long line of moves that ESPN has been doing to, I guess, that realistically you have to see it as budget cuts, because they're paying a lot of these other guys a lot of money to have their shows on the network. So they have to trim off some of the other people that they don't think, they can't necessarily pay the money that they would deserve. So it's hard to see, but I assume he's going to get picked up by somebody, especially someone like maybe Fox. It has been really quick to pick up these guys and pay them that money. So
especially with a lot of the streaming apps doing their own sports things. And I did see last night during the basketball game that they're going to do a back type of documentary of inside the NBA.
Good.
With Barkley and all of them. I believe it comes out after Game 4 of the Knicks and Pacers.
Nice. I would love to see that, like the continuation of the series we got last year, because that one was really good too. Like the inception of the show, how it all got started and really reached its peak of popularity, as it were. But it's been a really cool show this entire time, and I'm very happy they revived it. This basketball would not be the same without Inside the NBA.
And a big shout out to local comedian John K. Burton, who just joined us. Follow him on Instagram, as we're going to keep these comedians coming in on Thursdays all the way up until the opening of the Well Comedy Club, which will be a longtime sponsor. They have been with us since the beginning of the Early Bird Special, and we're looking forward to the next chapter of the Well, as well as Olivia Willis, who is doing her Gear Up for Greatness, and you can look her name up. She's been doing so much media that you can just Google her name now, and she pops right up. And she's got her donation drive coming up this Saturday from 10 to 1. And find her on Instagram. Just look up Gear Up for Greatness, or find the Early Bird Special, and we'll have all the information. So we'll take a break. We'll recap the Knicks Pacers crazy game last night, going into tonight's Timberwolves OKC game 2. And who got fined yesterday. There was a couple players who got fined from the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Stay connected. live weekdays from noon to 2 p.m. on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m., 101.1 FM. Now, back to Sparky and Burdick.
Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. We had a hell of a game one last night in the Garden.
As advertised.
As advertised. And honestly, everything that we said yesterday came true. The Knicks got off to a great start. Looked like they were going to win in a commanding way. Up 14 points with 3 minutes left in the game. And Sparky, what did you tell your lady yesterday?
It's not over.
It's not over.
Especially if you watched any NBA playoffs this year, especially Knicks.
Yes. And the Knicks got outscored in the final 3 minutes of this game, 20-6. 20-6. Now, again, Sparky, remind me what I said yesterday. What are the Pacers really good at?
Scoring.
Running and scoring.
Scoring
yes.
and running. Yeah,
Scoring
and playing
running.
full court all game.
All game.
Which Knicks were not expecting. It looked like they were like, what?
And you know what they did? They frustrated the heck out of Brunson.
Oh, yeah.
That last shot that he tried to take was an air ball that they had to fight for. They got it back out to Cat for an open three, in which for some reason he decided to shoot from New Jersey.
Which he did a couple times last
yes. Night. Get closer to the basket, dude. Like, I'm sorry.
Higher percentage shot.
I get that you can shoot. I'm not saying he can't shoot, but my point is you are in a tie ball game. A 2 wins 2. Why are you taking that 3? You had 5 seconds. Take 2 dribbles forward, mid-range jumper, make it, and you're a god in New York.
Yep.
Like, oh my God. And, it's so frustrating.
I was my concern going into the game is which Cat were we gonna get?
Yep.
And he showed up.
Yes, he did.
Most of the game.
As a guard.
Yes. I mean, he showed up, and it was one thing that I've learned over there just in the playoffs, since I didn't watch a lot of Knicks basketball games during the season, but having him in there with another big guy really helps him, because then he can bounce around and play guard, and he looked more comfortable.
Yes.
But there was several times, which we brought up before the game, is he gets lazy. He takes plays off. And there was several times that the Pacers' speed really hurt him, because he would jog or he'd even walk up the court, and they've already shot, and you would see his frustration in his face as he would turn around and have to look at the other half of the court. He had to jog back up. And I mean, it was a better game than I expected, just because I was starting to get worried. Okay, well, the Pacers are fast paced. They're going to score a lot. And I mean, there was so much going back and forth with the game. I was like, cool. Like, there wasn't a blowout in the first half, which I was expecting in most Knicks games. It is. And they're always, trying to come back. But I mean, Brunson looked frustrated, and not only just silly turnovers, which really costed them the game, but getting lazy with the lead, which they, out of every team in the NBA, should know better. And that's not Tibbs' style. So I was a bit concerned. And the Pacers, I mean, I know they got the win, but I was more concerned is, they started out hot. They were up, I believe, 6-8 points in the beginning. They couldn't miss a shot, but they weren't playing defense.
Nope.
And it made the Knicks, I mean, it was just back and forth. And I was like, okay, is it going to come down to who gets the ball in the last shot?
It really did too, that whole game.
And Brunson's foul trouble, which really changed the fourth quarter into overtime. But this is the game tying shot, which, if it was just an inch behind, would have won the game.
Neesmith inbounds to Halliburton. Oh boy, here we go. 6-5 Halliburton to the top of the arc, to the right elbow. Pulls it back out for 3, and the win at the horn. Back iron, and in. Halliburton hit it. Halliburton hit it. Indiana storms the floor. The officials will hold here. They have to review the shot.
Ruling on the floor is a 2-point goal. The play is under review. The review shows his foot is on the line. That will be a 2. We've got overtime in game 1 here.
Which was surprising, because just watching the game live, I thought for sure it was a 3. And I was, and that long bounce, and I'm like, wow,
That's
dude.
what I couldn't believe was the
Wow.
ridiculous rebound bounce off the rim that went in. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This guy is luck it's incredible to watch. But not saying that they're taking anything away from Tyrese's game. He's arguably, I know we talk about Jalen Brunson being the most clutch player in the NBA. I'm going to have to say in this playoffs, it's been Tyrese Halliburton. I know Jalen's been on a tear, no taken away from what he's done. I mean, he had 43 points in this game, but like you said, Sparky, he had multiple moments in this game late where he made key mistakes. There was an inbound pass that was late that almost got turned over because Josh Hart had slipped.
Yep.
There was
being held.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was also a play
like,
they could have, or the flag. I'm sorry, a foul they should have called. There was a play where late in the game where they were inbounding to Jalen and it went off his hand and they had to review it and it went the other way.
Yes,
that set up the three-pointer to get him down to 2. And then you had the missed free throw from Karl Anthony Towns, which set up the game-winning the game-tying three-pointer from Naismith again, who again I believe made 5 straight three-pointers at the end of this game just to get them down or back into the game.
Yeah, he was on fire.
The Knicks had every chance to really lock this away too. It's not like they weren't making shots. They made a handful of them. They just got outscored 20-6.
Yeah, he went nuclear, dude.
He really did.
5 threes, but he actually hit 8 in the game and finished with 30 points. And this was Brunson talking about just how Aaron got that open.
I mean, it wasn't rare or a rare sighting. I mean, he can shoot, and but no, when good teams, when they have a hot shooter, they find him. So it's just not good on our part, and finding him in transition and him getting open spots.
You know, Josh Hart has to check his shoes because there were multiple instances late in this game where he had slipped, and it is including I believe it was the game tying 3 where Naismith went up and had to make an adjustment midair.
That was crazy.
And it was one of the most wild ways to end this entire game. And you know what? I'm cooking dinner and watching this at the same time. And the entire time I almost burnt my dinner last night because I couldn't look away.
Yes.
It was one of those games and it was so much fun. Going into overtime though, I'm not going to lie. Watching Tyrese Halliburton do the Reggie Miller choke job, Selly, right in Brunson's face. Because to be honest with you, I cannot deny that was probably one of the craziest choke jobs I've ever seen. Yes. How crazy, you ask? The team that's been leading by double digits in the last 2 minutes of a game has won every time.
Yep.
Every single time.
0 and 1,414.
The Pacers are now literally in rare air. No other team has ever done this in history of the NBA. This was one of the greatest just collapses I've ever seen. And of course it happens to the Knicks in the Garden in game 1.
With Reggie Miller on the mic.
Exactly.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Everybody leaving early. I could not believe it. I'm telling you, Sparky, if the Knicks don't pull this off, I think they just lost the fan base. I really did. I really do. If they lose in game 2, like something like this, you don't have fans showing up to game 5 at all.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I heard Canty after the game talking about this, and I want to hear what you think, and I'll throw in my 2 cents.
They absolutely can come back from it, technically, but psychologically, I don't know if they're going to be able to get off the mat. Again, I go back to the point, you can't really ask for a better game from Jalen Brunson and Cat. Could they have made certain plays down the stretch? Sure, you can relitigate those. But those guys played really, really well. You can't ask for much more from them. And yet, you're talking about Indiana, who was down 14 with 2:45 left to go, finding a way to win. Outscoring the Knicks 18-4 in the final 240. That is incredible. I don't know that the Knicks are going to be able to come back from this from a mental standpoint.
It's a good point. But to be honest with you, the Knicks have been nothing but resilient, I feel, in this playoff run. So I do feel like they will make some sort of adjustment. And let's not forget, the Knicks were winning this game the entire way outside of the last couple minutes of it. I do think, though, I mean, you look at the stat line again, and as we stated yesterday, Tibbs playing these guys 40-plus minutes is not going to help their case at all. If you shave off the last 5 minutes of the game, technically, because that was overtime rules, you still have at least all 5 of your starters going 36 to 39 minutes.
Which, I mean, going off of just game 1, I mean, Brunson got a nice long break.
Yes, because he
in
was
the first
foul
half
trouble.
and in the second half when he got into foul trouble.
Him and
as
OG
well as
both.
Cat. Yeah, as well as Cat too. Cat, they all got breaks. So I wouldn't expect them to be as fatigued as we were expecting after just the first game.
Right.
But yes, mentally, they've got to be just ready to move on.
Was it weird to you that the officiating in this game,
It's
as
horrible.
much as we had seen them letting a lot of these bang bang plays go, this game they were calling everything both ways, and it seemed very regular season-esque.
Yes.
Like you look at really the personal fouls, especially for the Knicks and your starting 5, 4 of your starting 5 had 4 more fouls. Then, as Sparky and I just said, OG Anunoby and Jalen Brunson, arguably 2 guys you need on the court late, were not on the court because they were in foul trouble late in this game. It was really weird to me that we're now calling these things a little more ticky-tack. And it's like we've been allowing it and throughout this entire playoffs and allowing these guys to play rough, tough playoff basketball. But now we're going to move back to this regular season format. I don't like that. I think we need to stick to, let these guys battle it out. And unless it's something that's absolutely egregious, we should pretty much let it go for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple, and I'm glad that it at least went both ways. It wasn't favored to either team. And yes, I have a couple Pacers fans that's saying, Brunson gets every call. And I'm like, dude, it's going both ways. If you're watching the whole game,
Well,
I mean, they missed a lot of calls as well.
The sharpshooter, Naismith, had 5 of his own. I mean, they were definitely calling him on both.
And that final score that could have, pretty much locked in the win, the Knicks should have fouled him way before he even got into the key. But, I was also surprised, Mitchell Robinson had a hell of a game. He's got his arms like a street fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting boards everywhere, and he was always there to save or stop a momentum sweep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just hope this whole series is like this, which I expect not anyone, especially the Knicks, to lay over after one game.
No.
But it's not the first time they've lost at home, and they have been a solid road team, but the Pacers it's gonna be a tough series.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think that game 2 in the Garden is now a must win for you if you're a Knicks, or if you're the Knicks, because if you go down 2-0 again going into Indiana, much like we saw in the last series, yeah, sure, you might win 1 from them, but they're gonna lock you up in 5.
Yep.
It's just you can't beat this team 2 out of 3, if not 3 out of the 4 times.
You can't drop the first 2.
No, and it's just going to look ugly. I personally don't expect the Pacers to have as high of a shooting quality game in game 2. However, Tyrese Halliburton has led this team into just wild conditions, and they've come out on the other side every single time. So it's really hard to say the Pacers aren't favored to win game 2 right now.
Well, we'll definitely preview that game, and of course, we'll have Bolt Brady on tomorrow, as well as Chris Flail. So I'm kind of expecting to hear probably some different inputs as tomorrow's show, and I'll want to keep an eye out on the line before we talk to Bolt. But let's take a break. We'll wrap up the show to preview game 2 between Minnesota and OKC. Since game 1, SGA has won the MVP award, and Ant's been fined $50,000. We'll talk about that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Caller. to Sparky and Burdick of the Early Bird Special.
Oh, great. Now I got to go watch Transformers. Thanks for reminding me how great this song is.
Megan Fox.
Yes, and her too. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And we got a game 2 in the NBA that we have to talk about before we get out of here. As the Timberwolves look to even the series tonight against the Thunder in Oklahoma City. Tip-off is at 5:30 p.m. I believe we will be having our pregame at 5 o'clock right here on ESPN Bakersfield. And the main question of the day, can Anthony Edwards rebound from an ugly game 1 and lead his team back for game 2, evening the series against the newly awarded MVP of the NBA, SGA? The Canadian-born superstar led his team to an NBA best 68 wins this season, and honestly is probably the favorite to at least make the finals, if not win the entire dang thing this year. And they've made themselves look like the favorites in game 1, at least. Sparky, what do you think for game 2?
I'm going Minnesota.
I have to agree with you.
I think they even it up, and I hope the Knicks do the same on Friday. But just for entertainment, I'm pulling for a Minnesota win. I know Ant got fined $50,000 for a stupid, silly comment that didn't think it was worth $50,000. But I don't know the NBA rules on curse words.
Yeah, profanity and whatnot.
I
From
mean-
what all I understand is that he just dropped an F-bomb after they
Yep.
lost.
He said
I'd
he
be
only
dropping.
took-
If that's the case, I'd be losing my entire funds for my game if we lose. Because shoot, I'm dropping F-bombs left and right.
In the post game after losing game 1, he just said we got to get better. Only took 13 beeping shots. Yippee, $50,000. But
It pushes his total in the season to over $400,000, though.
I
He's
was going to
been
say
fined $400,000 this season.
they brought it up this morning when I was doing the prep that he was the most he had the most texts
Mhm.
in the NBA. But I want to hear from Stephen A real quick because he thinks this series is pretty much over and it's lopsided.
And the fact of the matter is that showing last night by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second half, by him in the second half, says a lot if you don't find a way to resurrect yourself in this series. Molly, this series could end up being a romp. This series could end up being as lopsided as they come. I mean, based on what you saw in the second half, we're not all there yet. We're looking at Minnesota getting a game or 2 games. My theory of 7-game series has gone out the window. The level of dominance in that second half defensively, if they were just making shots, that would be one thing. They weren't making shots, Molly, and they still didn't care. They forced about 3 or 4 turnovers in the last 3 minutes of the first half, which really set the stage for the blowout in the second half. This is what they're doing. They came at them defensively and got all up in them, and Minnesota had no answer whatsoever.
Stephen
This
A.
could be bad.
I mean, I see his point. I wouldn't go that far.
Pushing
I
it.
think that we're going to make some adjustments here. I say they will make some adjustments here, and Coach Finch will make some adjustments and potentially have a better shooting day. Because let's not forget, they only shot 35% in this game, and we're really neck and neck with this team and had the lead, in fact, in the first half. They went into the end of the first half 48-44. I think that they have a chance here, especially if you can get Ant off the ground. I think Ant said it himself with that comment that got him fined, that he only took 13 shots. He had 18 points. I mean, for Anthony Edwards, who again left in the first quarter for a while because he had an ankle injury, thank goodness he was able to come back. It was just a rolled ankle. Maybe he comes back a little bit healthier in this game, and he will definitely come out more aggressive if that is the case. So it's going to be harder, I'd say, for the Thunder to keep him contained and keep that shooting percentage down.
Oh, he's going to come shooting, and I expect Minnesota to bounce back. I don't know the line on. I'm sure OKC's favored
7.5 again.
7.5 again. Man.
Honestly, until Minnesota shakes that line, I think it's going to stick to 7.5.
But do you think that if Minnesota drops it, it's over?
No, I mean, again, Minnesota is a completely different monster, and they have the pieces and the matchups to make this an interesting series. They just need to bring the confidence within themselves. We need to see the Anthony Edwards that's Jordan-esque. We need to see the Julius Randle that helped the Knicks last year make a run and really solidified himself as a good big man, or a great big man, really, in the NBA. And honestly, you need the defensive stud that is Rudy Gobert to really start being that defensive stud and solidifying your defense down low, forcing them to shoot a lot more threes. Now, whether they make those threes or not is up for debate, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, we got a jam-packed show tomorrow. Join us live from 7 to 9 a.m. We'll recap this game, preview the Knicks game, plus any upcoming or top of the headlines. Plus, we'll have Chris Flail from Chris Flail Comedy, as well as Bolt Brady tomorrow live 7 to 9.
Absolutely. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. We're getting out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.